The markets continue to take a beating today as President Trump acknowledged that the coronavirus is not under control. It was a bloodbath for the Dow, which closed almost 3,000 points down. The S&P falling 500 points. Senator Mitt Romney proposing a $1,000 payment to every adult American, an idea that will sound familiar to my guest,
Andrew Yang. Yes.
Democratic presidential candidate. Also, Catherine Rampell, an opinion commentator with the Washington Post. Good evening to both of you. What did you say about Mitt Romney?
That he's joined the Yang Gang. We're getting a lot of new members, certainly under the worst circumstances anyone can imagine.
I'm going to talk to you about that, but I just want to talk about the markets real quick,
Sure.
Catherine, if you will.
Please,
Good evening
please.
to both of you. The market's saying after the Fed pumped how much? $1 billion into the economy in the form of rate cuts, cash injections. How much more? You can't even go down. What is it, like at what, 0.25 now? What is it?
Yeah, the Fed funds rate is in the range of 0 to 0.25%. Well, look, the Fed has shot virtually every bullet it could, from squirt gun to bazooka, and it really only has so many tools available at this point. We went into this crisis with interest rates already pretty low, so they were at a disadvantage. And their tools are, frankly, just not that useful for dealing with a global recession caused by a pandemic. So they're doing what they can to make sure that there's liquidity in the market so that we don't have an eventual financial crisis. This is basically a crisis in the real economy, not in the banking system at this point. But there's only so much they can do, which is exactly why fiscal policymakers, i.e. Congress and the Senate, need to get off their butts and pass a damn bill already.
Yeah. When people say now, I just don't have that kind of money, they mean just don't have that kind of money. Because listen, the president warned today that the U.S. may be heading into a recession. I mean, where do you see this economic crisis going?
We're clearly already in a recession, and we need to prevent it from becoming a full-scale depression, because the real economy right now has been completely hobbled.
Wait,
and
you
then
said
some.
depression?
Yeah, like with a D. I mean, that's what's on the table right now. That's why senators like Mitt Romney are recommending dramatic solutions like putting $1,000 into the hands of every American adult immediately, because that's exactly the right move. And that's going to help support demand and help millions of American families actually weather this crisis that could stretch on for months. It should be $1,000 per month of the crisis. The CDC already said we should avoid gatherings for the next 2 months. So it should be at least $1,000 a month for every American for the next 2 months.
So you believe that we're already in a recession, and to prevent a depression, you think
a recession is immediately baked in. And just look around. Like, New York's a ghost town. Every bar and restaurant is closed. And that's just the beginning of it. You can look at every sporting event, every conference, like planes, trains, empty. The entire economy has essentially become a ghost town. And so we have to prevent this from becoming a crippling depression. I just talked to Tom, who runs all of these restaurants.
He laid off 300 people today.
He laid off 300 people today. And if you imagine that projected throughout the entire economy, small businesses right now are firing people right and left.
Yeah, I mean, we are almost undoubtedly in a recession right now, possibly a global recession. A number of economists have said that. The real question is how long it lasts. And to be clear, with all due respect to Andrew for bringing greater popularity to UBI, which is, your proposal that we would have $1,000 a month, regardless of whether the economy is good or bad. Actually, giving direct cash payments as a Keynesian form of stimulus is precedented. We did it in 2008 through a partially refundable tax credit. I think they were called the recovery rebate or something under George W. Bush.
I remember that.
Yeah, so this is not an entirely new thing.
It was only like 100 or 200. It wasn't that much.
It was refundable for up to $300, and if you had a bigger tax liability, I think you could get something like $600 a person. But yeah, I mean, it was not huge. Maybe in inflation-adjusted terms, it would be comparable to what's on the table today. But so this is not a new thing. Putting cash in the pockets of Americans when they need it most, not new, and it shouldn't be surprising, frankly, that we've seen Republican economists, Democratic economists, Republican lawmakers, Democratic lawmakers get on board with it now.
So here's what conservatives usually say, that it doesn't offer people an incentive to do anything, that it doesn't make people feel worth, right? You just sort of sit around and you get money for doing nothing.
Oh yeah, no, completely. And as Catherine said, people on both sides of the aisle see the common sense. where they know that if you send tens of millions of Americans home, their savings is going to evaporate pretty quickly. How are they going to meet their basic needs?
How are they going to pay their rent?
How are they going to pay their rent or pay for food? So we need to get money in their hands immediately, and this has nothing to do with your political leanings. This is just common sense. And I'm thrilled that it seems like Congress is getting its act together and doing the right thing sooner rather than later.
But isn't this sort of this is just my layman's term. Listen, I'm not an economist. I don't study the markets. I just, I don't know. The sort of trickle-down economy, if wealthy people aren't putting money into the economy, if they're not going out to restaurants, that's when poor people suffer.
Well, this is the trickle-up economy. And again, lawmakers on both sides of the aisle see that all their constituents are about to be cut off from their everyday jobs, income. They don't know when it's going to come back. And there's really no replacement.
Because rich people still have money. They're just not spending it. They're just not going out to restaurants. It's the gig workers. It's the average everyday American who doesn't have money, who's not getting a paycheck.
Well, unfortunately, that's the vast majority of Americans at this point. Because 78% are living paycheck to paycheck. Right. Almost half said they couldn't afford an unexpected $400 bill before the crisis. That was before business went off a cliff and they all got sent home. So you can imagine what it's going to be right now. Literally every moment, every hour counts, and Congress needs to pass this bill right now.
And I would add, the House actually did pass a bill late Friday night, early Saturday morning, and the Senate has been dragging its feet, nitpicking it. And look, it's not a perfect bill, but it does a lot of good things, including offering paid sick leave to more people, expanding unemployment insurance.
That's what Tom said, the guy who owns the restaurants in this.
Yeah, but if you look at a set of restaurants that close, you look at the range of people that get affected. Yeah. It's everyone from the people who work at the restaurant to the parking attendants, the security guards. In order to cover this vast array of people throughout the economy, you just have to give it to everyone. You really can't try and differentiate.
Thank you both. I appreciate it.
Put the money in our hands. 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 Can we afford it? Yes. Will it cause inflation? No. Is it awesome? Yes. Is anyone trying to make it happen? Yeah, that guy.